Welcome to Focus Fridays. I'm Juliann Nichols, CEO of Focus on You Strategy, and we're here today with my good friend Danelle Brown she's actually from Illinois, but St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
She's close to
Across
St.
the
Louis.
river.
Most people know where St. Louis is. And she's here today to talk to us about her book, Soulmate Proprietors, How to Run a Business with Your Spouse and Stay Married. Stay married. And I know her spouse quite well, Mr. Marcel Brown. And you and Miss Marcel have been together for 14 years now in business. Well, you've been married longer, but in business, you just celebrated 14 years.
14 years full
without
time.
killing each other. You're still alive.
Yes.
Great.
All parts intact.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh, good. Good to know. So tell me about Soulmate Proprietors. How did this get started?
Well, Soulmate Proprietors was really just a fluke in the beginning. I belonged to a women's organization that was really promoting and empowering women to be authors. And I was very intrigued by that topic, and I was like, what would I write about? And one of my fellow group members there said, if I were you, I'd write about working with your spouse because you guys do such a great job. And I honestly laughed at first because I'm like, nobody's going to care. Nobody is going to care about that.
So why would I want to write a book about him?
Yeah, or what we do every day.
Right,
I didn't think it was all that interesting.
Right.
Definitely couldn't fill a book, But the more I started to think about, why we do what we do, and then really paid attention to who else did I know that was in the same position, I was shocked how many people I knew ran a business with their spouse.
Right.
So I started doing interviews, and that was my favorite part of the book. I interviewed hundreds of couples to find out their tips and tricks, what put them in that position, what they would recommend to other people, and it was really across the board. I just started to see a pattern.
Yeah.
A pattern. So I put all of that into a very quick book that's fun to read. And that's the other thing, when you're running a business, you don't have a lot of time to tackle certain issues. And I wanted to make it fun and lighthearted and something that they could pick up occasionally and revisit if they wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So real quickly, what were the top 3 tips that you could give couples about, running a business together?
Okay. My first tip, I would say, is divide and conquer. So a lot of people, they say they're going to run a business together, and they each jump in and just start doing things, and then they don't communicate. And there needs to be a clear division of roles from the very beginning of who's going to be in charge of what. And I use an example in my book at the beginning, especially when it comes to things like marketing. I was in charge of marketing, at least I thought I was, until my husband decided to go buy some expensive advertising, and I had already allocated that money for something else. So that put us in a very nasty little bind. So we had to, early on, figure out, okay, this is where the line in the sand is drawn for that. Otherwise, we're going to be in financial hardship all the time because we're spending the same money without telling each other. So divide and conquer is probably one of my biggest tips, that you need to be determining who is in charge of what. The next thing I would say is something that a lot of husband and wife businesses do not do is form a board of directors. And just because you are in a business with your spouse doesn't mean that you don't have a board of directors that you can put together. So I highly recommend getting together with the people that you know, like, and trust, that really have your best interest at heart. Sometimes it's other family members, sometimes it's just community leaders, your bank, your accountant, whoever really helped you get your business off the ground. There's always at least 5 people. So I highly recommend taking the time to put together a board of directors that will help guide you to grow. And probably the third biggest tip I would also really implore with people is, when you're a husband and wife business, you need to have what I call a State of the Union. And a State of the Union is, where is everything? Where is everything kept? Because if you are running this business and, God forbid, something happened to you, who is going to manage the exit strategies and wrap things up if something were to happen? And that, I'm not just talking about personal life, kids, and in your home and all those kinds of things. I'm talking about your business itself. What is going on, like, with MB Tech? Who is going to handle, handing our clients over to someone else, and so on and so forth. So there needs to be a plan B, and a State of the Union, and not just if you're both gone, but if something happens to one of you. I couldn't tell you how many people I ran into that didn't know important passwords or ways that the other half did something. And when I say divide and conquer, it's good that one person's in charge, but the other still needs to know, who do I call if I need help to manage this? Is something, if my husband were in a car accident, I make it my point to know all the time, who do I call to help me take care of the details that he would do, because his expertise is different than mine.
Right.
And you have to keep up on that State of the Union. So we do it every year. We have an annual State of the Union meeting. Mine's in August, not January. But I highly recommend that people sit down and do this and have, and you can do a simple spreadsheet. I mean, it has evolved over the years. It was a little Word document once, and then it was a spreadsheet, then it was on Dropbox, and I was all techie, so it just really has evolved over the years. So something that you guys can get a hold of. Those are my biggest three right now. And then definitely, if you can't take a vacation together, do not open a business with your spouse.
Well, that was going to be my next question to you, is like, a lot of couples think they can work together, but in reality, there are a lot of couples who can't work together.
Cannot.
So what things would you say are signs that you should not go into business together?
Right. What I just said, the vacation one, how you respond to stressful situations. If you tend to panic, freak out, really overreact, those kinds of things, because running a business is not for the faint of heart.
No.
And I don't care who you're doing it with. If it's yourself or your spouse, it's very, very difficult to get it up off the ground and have people understand what you're going through. And if you can't work together and figure things out, then there's no way you should be running a business together. Also, if you are not able to turn it off ever, huge problem. There needs to be boundaries. There needs to be a line in the sand drawn. So even if you work out of your home, there still needs to be a safe zone. So that way you can turn it off and still be a couple at the same time.
Yeah. Great.
Highly recommend
Great
that.
information. Well, we are so glad that we had Danelle Brown from Queen Bee Consulting here from St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you, Danelle, for being here. I love you much.
Welcome.
And
you can buy it on soulmateproprietors.com, but it's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Bookstore. Pick your poison. You can find it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Tune in next week when you'll hear more on Focus Fridays.